If you want to get even bigger from calisthenics, I strongly recommend isolating your muscles just like bodybuilders do. So in today's video, I'll be covering the major areas for the upper body while showing and explaining the benefits. Starting with the biceps. Relying on chin-ups and inverted rows to maximize the size is not enough. You will have either a lagging situation or not hit your potential. When there could have been the easiest solution in the world, bodyweight curls. Either off gymnastic rings, a suspension system, or even a fixed bar, which is my least favorite variation, by the way. In this way, we can fully accommodate for our bicep strength. By being fully upright, the leverages are such that it's pretty easy. But the more you lean back, get closer to the floor, horizontal, now you have a very difficult curling exercise. In fact, most of you who can curl, say 40 to 50 pound dumbbells for reps would have immense trouble doing the ring curl flat. And if you elevate your feet, good luck even getting a single repetition. And what if we throw in the unilateral stuff at the same time? Now we can redo the entire progression starting from the top, one arm at a time. Obviously, the resistance profile isn't going to be the same, but as we gradually lean back, we're building the strength in all the joint angles. So progressive overload is pretty much unlimited in this way, and you don't need weights, nor is it required to wear a vest of any type. This is the most simple curl you can possibly do. And what's awesome is that it'll help your performance on other curls. So the carryover in an absolute sense is tremendous. Not to mention the fact that in general, your bar work will look better. Say hello to improved lockout strength on your chin-ups. You get stuck at the top, want a kip? This will fix it. While truly building bicep size to its peak. Because we can look at some minimalist calisthenics athletes that have decent biceps. But what about the thousands of natural lifters who have equal development or even better, despite being a third weaker on the chin-ups? If you look at the calisthenics guys, they'll have amazing backs, insanely wide, and their biceps will look good, but there's an imbalance proportionally. Whereas a gym bro will have much bigger biceps with a smaller back. And biomechanically, that makes sense. In order to get really huge biceps from the vertical pulls, you have to get absurdly strong to the point where it's not even feasible for most of you. You'd be wise not to repeat that mistake, especially when it only takes one exercise. But if that's still not enough, you can throw in a second, which is weighted stretch based, the pelican curl. This is a ring curl, but you can do it off a bar too, with the arms behind your body. And you're leaning all the way forward, getting a full stretch, and then curling yourself back up. These are insane on the bicep tendons, so you need to start slow. But if you can get to the point where you're doing complete pelican curls, full range of motion in a horizontal style, my goodness, I think you're gonna have some of the best biceps around. And I would say that these are a lot more intense than incline curls, specifically the bottom stretch, because you're leaning your entire body directly on that bicep. Some would say it's even risky for that exact purpose. So I must stress the importance of slowly easing your way into it. And even myself, I'm not strong enough to do it the way McCanimal does. In an inclined position, look at his arms, 18 inches. They didn't used to be that big. Guess what? Gymnastic rings and incorporating all these little movements made the difference. Anyway, since we're on the topic of arms, let's dive into this minimal sinking even more. The idea that if you only do dips, push-ups, the fundamental compounds, your triceps are going to get as big as possible. It's not true. Some of you will end up with way more developed shoulders and chests. Say hello to torso dominance. It's happening all the time, which novices are experiencing left and right in the gym. They ran programs that had no isolation work for the triceps, and now, coincidentally, their arms are their worst body part, usually biceps and triceps combined, but they're wide and thick in the torso. It's not genetics, it's your fucking training. Isolate your triceps, one exercise, which is so easy to do. If you don't do this, I would make the argument that your training is far less efficient. You're gonna have to get way stronger to the point where, again, it's not as feasible, and you're probably leaving out an inch of size gains or more. And you're limiting your strength potential. Because if you can maximally develop the size of those triceps with a bit more focused training, then obviously that's gonna help your pushing exercises. So what's the solution? A tricep extension. The easiest way would be doing it on the floor. You can put your arms more in front of you if you're not that strong, or you can bring them closer. Alternatively, you can elevate the feet, which makes the leverages very challenging, but you're still doing a partial range of motion. That said, it's better to do this than nothing at all. The best way of training your triceps would be in a full range of motion manner, either off gymnastic rings or a suspension system or even a bar. It doesn't matter. Get a full stretch and contraction and progressively overload by getting lower to the ground, which will also engage your core a lot as a nice little side benefit, but that's not why we're doing the exercise. You'd be surprised how challenging these could be, especially when you throw them in at the end of your program. So let's say you did weighted dips and weighted push-ups, and maybe one more press or accessory. This could be your fourth exercise, finish off those tries. And I promise that the burn and contraction will be unlike what you felt with the presses alone. It's like me telling you to finish off a weight training workout with tricep push downs. You all know the feeling, right? It's the same thing with calisthenics. Now let's talk about the chest. In my personal opinion, you don't have to isolate it, but I do understand the logic that if you're only doing fixed bar presses, i.e. push-ups and dips, you can be potentially leaving out gains since we're not doing the humeral adduction portion. Of course, this can be completely remedied by including gymnastic rings. In this way, we can move inwards towards the body instead of being in this position here. So to me, that would be the ultimate solution. But if you don't like those exercises, or you simply want to finish off your chest workout in a more isolated sense, the easiest way to do that is with ring flies or with a suspension system. Most people do this with bent arms, but I prefer lengthening that lever, which is a lot more challenging, and you might not be able to do it fully off the ground. Perhaps elevation is required. I don't really have a problem with that because I like the fact that it's more specific to general skill training, and it'll also hit your biceps a little bit more as well through the stabilization aspect. So it's more of a gymnastic type of form. But for general hypertrophy training, you can leave a bend and you can be okay. So that's what you would do. Ring flies, squeeze inwards. A lot of bodybuilders back in the day actually used to do these. So the ring flies is probably the best accessory I can think of for the chest. But like I said, if you're doing ring dips, you're already getting those benefits. Same thing with the ring push-ups. And I would go as far to say that if you're doing it weighted, then you're not gonna have a lagging chest at all. Imagine you can do 3 plates on the ring dips. Do you honestly think you have to do a fly of any type? Just some food for thought. If you're not gonna do the ring presses, then you should probably isolate your chest with a fly of some type. Next, let's talk about the back, which is not really an isolated movement I'll be sharing, but the idea itself is similar to what would be done in the gym, the pullover. I recommend training for the front lever. Sometimes I'll post clips of me on Instagram doing the complete exercise, and guys are like, Alex, I can't do that, so why are you recommending it? My point is not to get to that elite level, it's to train the skill itself, because the shoulder extension portion is really going to hit those lats in a unique way, which is why, by the way, most people who can do a full front lever are very strong at weighted pull-ups. There's this guy on YouTube who made a video called The Problem with Front Lever. I think it's Frank's TV or Frank Movement. Really well done segment. And one of the strongest correlations was the 1 rep max pull-up. What's crazy is that I intuitively figured that out years ago. I even made a video in 2019 called How I Got the Front Lever, Try My Way. It was very unconventional at the time. I was telling people to get stronger weighted pull-ups. I didn't even realize it, bro. But I thought it was a core exercise, but really your back contributes the most. Obviously not including the lower portion here. So the front lever, either you doing the full up and down part or just holding the position is going to blow up your width. Not to mention the fact that it's really good for shoulder health and body control on bars. I cannot recommend this enough. Everyone should be doing a little bit of skill work on the side. And like I said, you can start off with the most basic stuff, tuck position, negatives only. I don't care if you never get the front lever. It doesn't matter. You can have massive legs or you can be 6'5", your leverages are garbage, maybe you're 250 pounds. I don't care about any of that. I am not telling you to master this exercise. Just train the skill. And over time, I guarantee that you'll get better back gains than if you only did the pull-ups and rows, as effective as those movements are. And one thing you can do to complement this as well, by the way, is ring rollouts, which will force you to minimize the anterior pelvic tilt. So it's anti-extension, and you're working your core isometrically with that stretch portion at the same time. Obviously, in a front lever, you're gonna be down here, and the ring rollout, it's the opposite. But still, I found that to be a useful little accessory. Lastly, let's talk about the shoulders. For front delts, you'll probably be fine from all the presses we do, especially the handstand push-ups. But the rear and side, we can say are lacking in most calisthenics programs. And what's the solution? 2 exercises that's gonna change everything. First being the ring face pull. You're gonna fall in love. Extremely simple to set up, place them high, and row to your face. You're gonna get a tremendous rear delt pump, and it indirectly hits the side delts as well. This is also great for getting rid of some of that kyphotic posture that's so common, because we're doing a lot of presses with calisthenics, and what I found in a lot of these guys is they won't hit the rows as hard. Obviously, that can be corrected by just having a balanced, good program that doesn't neglect anything. But let's just keep it real. Most people do way more volume on the presses compared to the backside, with the exception of the pull-ups. So ring face pulls is good insurance for that, even if you are already strong at the rows. Then when you're throwing the reverse flies on rings, that's gonna take your side delts to the next level, since we're moving laterally. So you can get a really nice contraction, and of course, it hits the rear delts and overall upper back. So these are not truly isolated. They're accessories that can be called that, but not 100%. Regardless, it'll get the job done, and I think that it's very well worth including. And if you insist on not doing this for whatever reason, you should still do something for that portion, either with bands or a cable setup. But I think it's wrong to be minimalist in this regard. I would never tell a lifter not to train these areas. And so I would extend that logic to calisthenics, especially when there's potential imbalances that can appear from the common programming out there. So with these 2 movements alone, you're gonna be all set for building cannonball shoulders and ensuring maximum safety. And with that said, guys, we are done this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you've introduced isolation work at all, what before and after differences were, and stay tuned for more segments like this, because there's obviously a lot of additional exercises you could do.